I've got this tire pressure light coming on in my car. I'm gonna check the tire. I know which one it is. It's not the first time this light's come on. I've had to add some air to a tire. So I'm gonna take this tire off to see if I can find a nail in it and see where to go from there. So one of the things I keep in my car is a tire pressure gauge. So we know we've got a light on in the car that's telling us we have a low tire, so let's check and see if we can find which one. So to know if your tire is low or not, first of all, you've got to know what your recommended tire pressure is. So right inside your door frame of your car, you should see front and rear suggested tire pressures. Now we've got 36 psi, 36 psi. Your spare should have 60 on this particular car. Now if you don't see the sticker here in the door jamb, look inside the gas cover. Sometimes it'll be printed right here. So what we're going to do is go to the front tire and take off the valve stem cover, the valve stem cap, and we're going to push this in and see what this comes up to. 35, 36, that's just about perfect. So if that one needs no air, I'm going to screw it back in. So now we're going to go to the back of the car, the same side, take this cap off and check its pressure. I'm going to push this in. Alright, let's look at it. It says 20, 22, 23 psi. So we have a leak in this tire somewhere. So as we can also tell, it's got a little bit of a bulge on the bottom, so you can see that it's got less air than it needs. I'm going to go around to the other side. This tire is setting a lot higher off the ground, so I don't think this tire's got any leaks in it. Same thing with the front. So we're going to take care of that one back tire on the other side. These are the tire tools that came with the car. I have a hydraulic floor jack that's easier, but because we're treating this like an emergency situation, you don't typically carry a floor jack around with you in your car. This is what I've got today. Got this little tool, and this jack. So now we're going to attack this tire. So for jacking up the car, I'm going to pull the emergency brake first. Shut the door. And we're going to put this jack under here and jack up the car. Now, a lot of times under the edge of the car, you'll see this strip of metal here where it's riveted. And typically, the place where you're supposed to lift is indicated by 2 notches, and you're supposed to just center that. Should be one on the rear and the front. And this is the spot for the rear. Now, to make the lug nuts easier to get off, I'm going to remove the hubcap and then loosen the lug nuts before we lift the tire off the ground. That way the tire doesn't try to spin whenever we're loosening. So you can pull this hubcap off various ways. This has got a little hook on it. Just going to get behind it and pull it. So now I'm going to take the tire tool and just press on this down. Loosen that. I think these were put on with an air wrench, so they're going to be a little hard, tight. Hard to loosen. Okay, we're just going to leave them snug, and now we're going to raise the jack. This particular jack, the handle's 2 pieces. Inserts in like this and then turn the jack to raise the car. I'm going to go ahead and raise the car off camera. Okay, now that the jack has got the car off the ground, the emergency brake's on, so this tire won't spin, but I'm going to go ahead and loosen the lug nuts now. So now with all 4 lug nuts removed, slid the tire off the axle. We're going to take the tire and slowly roll the tire in the yard See if we can identify, that's something, an obvious hole in the tire or a screw sticking out of it or something like that. A little hole, maybe, crack. I don't see an obvious nail. So what we're going to do is now search for the cause. Let's look in the sidewalls. See if we see something puncturing the side. There's a little bit of dry rotting in this tire, but I don't think that's leaking. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to find the leak. So I have a portable air pump plugged into the cigarette lighter in the car. We're going to hook this up to the tire. We're going to go ahead and put some more air in this and raise it up to its normal operating pressure. As you can see here, the gauge on my air pump is broken. I'm going to go ahead and probably buy a new one because I've got a messed up hose here and a bad gauge. So I can't tell how much air is in this tire just from the pump alone, so I'll check it with this occasionally until it gets up around 36 psi. Okay, now that I've aired the tire back up, I'm going to get a cup of soapy water, just dish soap and water, and see if I can find this leak. Well, the first obvious place we want to check is around the valve stem. Let's see if there's any bubbles. Nothing that I can notice there. We're going to check around the edge of the tire, see if there's any bubbles. Not seeing anything there. Check the other side. Nothing there. Alright. So if we don't have a leaky valve stem, we don't have a tire that's come unseated from the rim, let's check the edge of the tire. The easiest to do with one hand if you don't want to get wet. Well, looks like I found a leak. Let's see if we've got any more. I don't see any more leaks anywhere on the tire, but we do have an obvious one right here. Where is it? There we go. Well, that's enough to make the tire go down. Dried this hole off a little bit, and I can see that there's no nail sticking out of it or any piece of metal or anything like that, but there is an obvious hole. So that's what we're going to tackle. Now, because there's no nail sticking out of here, there's nothing to grab to remove. But I'll show you what I would typically do if there was a nail sticking out or something like that. I'll pretend like this little piece of rock here. You basically get a little pair of pliers or something and get over the head of that nail or whatever and just work it and pull that out of the tire. And it may be a little tight, whatever, and as soon as you pull it out, it's going to start making an air hissing noise. So don't let that bother you. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do is try to find the path of the hole. There is a hole all the way through the tire. So there is a spiraled file-like spiky thing that comes with the toolkit, and you want to try to work that into the tire. Now when I pull this out, it's probably going to make a big loud hissy noise. What I'm going to do is take this spike and work it into the tire like this. What I tend to do, what I like to do is just put this in here and work it in and out. Kind of roughs up the rubber, make the patch material adhere better. So you have to pull this in and out several times. And this open and the rubber. Now we're going to leave this tool sitting in the hole for just a minute while we grab the other parts. Now the things I like to use repeatedly is this little tool right here. You put the plug in this. Here's a pack of plugs, here's some rubber cement, and here's a plug I'm going to use. So I'm going to take this plug out of this package and work it through here. And sometimes it's hard to squeeze it and push it through that, so you just take your pliers and pull it through there. Now, this thing's pretty sticky, it's like rubbery sticky. So what I want to do is just squeeze it, try to get it flat, and then push that through the opening on this tool. And if you can work it through the tool that far, then you can grab your needle nose pliers and pull it on about halfway through. And so now you can see that I pulled that plug about halfway through that tool. As you can see, there is a little gap at the end of this tool where you may not can see it, but there is one. So that'll help us release this plug later into the tire without pulling it all the way out again. One thing I like to do is take a little rubber cement and spread it on this. I don't think it's necessary, but I just do it. I know it's good for patches and things like that, so it can't hurt for this. So now that I've got the plug ready to go into the tire, I've got this in the hole. I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to take the point of this and push it in. The steel belt sometimes will impede, so you have to work it in between the steel belts a little bit. There it goes. Don't push it all the way in. Push it, leave about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch sticking out. And then what I'm going to do is turn it. Then I'm going to pull it back out. And the tool should come out and leave the plug in the tire. As you can see now, there's a good bit of plug sticking out, but there's no air leaking. Got the phone right up next to it. There's no air leaking out of this right here. What you can do is you can take your pliers and trim this off, or take a knife, razor knife or something like that, and trim this off a little bit, or just let it wear off normally. Now, I do keep a razor knife and these pliers in my tire flat fixing kit, so I'm just going to grab this plug with my pliers and put some tension on it, and then cut it with that knife. So now I've got a plug in the tire. It's been trimmed off with the razor knife, and I didn't see any other leaks, so I'm going to put this back on the car, check the tire pressure, probably let a little air out because I put more than 36 psi in, so I want to release the tire pressure until it's back down to where it needs to be. The reason why I put more than 36 in is because I knew it was going to leak a little while I was fixing it, and maybe it'll leak back down about where I need it. Alright, now I'm putting the lug nuts back on, and because this one is a 4-lug, you want to start here, get them hand tight all the way around so where the tire doesn't wobble, and then start tightening them. I've got the tension put on this one. Now I'm going to go across and get this one tight. I'm going to go here and then here. check them again. Okay, got it. Let's put the hubcap back on and check our air pressure. For cars with hubcaps, instead of fancy wheels, there's typically a cutout right here for the valve stem, so you know where to align it. So now we've got the tire and hubcap on. I'm going to lower the jack, set it back down on the car's weight back on the tire, then we'll check the air pressure. So I let out more air than I thought, so I'm going to have to add some more, get it back up to 36, and that should be fine. So now it's about 36, which is perfect. Don't forget to put your valve stem cap back on. Now we can put up our tools. So what did I keep in my kit? I've got a tire patch kit here. This is got some rubber patches and rubber cement. Now this is typically for my four-wheeler or lawnmower, or something I can take the tire off of the rim, put it back on without having to worry about balancing it. It's not necessarily for a car unless you were in a real bad shape. I've got the tire plugs, got a whole box of those. I've got a screwdriver, Phillips screwdriver, one that's not too big. That forms the same purpose as this tool, which kind of makes the hole bigger, roughs it up a little bit. Now, occasionally I've had to have something a little stronger, and I use this first and then follow it up with this. I use a pair of pliers like I showed you to either pull the plug through the plug tool or to pull out a nail. And in fact, here's a screw that I had stuck in the tire, and I think I used this Phillips screwdriver to get that screw out. So sometimes you just can't pull those out. This tool is to take your valve stem out. It's a valve stem tool. And rubber cement, which is going to come with a kit like this. And a razor knife to cut off plugs or whatever purpose you want to use it for. So that and the air compressor are the tools that I keep in my tire repair kit. As you can see now, the tire air pressure sensor light is going off. Well, I hope this do-it-yourself video on how to plug a car tire will help somebody. I know not everybody has these skills. Some people think it's second nature and everybody knows how to do it, but not everybody does. A lot of people are stranded by the side of the road trying to call somebody. Me, I just pull over, fix my issue, and keep going. So if you're in a survival situation, a crisis, something like that, there may not be somebody to come and help you. So this is one of those extra tools in your toolbox to get you moving again. So if you like this kind of content, please subscribe to our channel and click that bell for notifications. Thanks a lot.